Welcome to the Lady Nighthawk Show, where we talk about topics that are happening around the world. And, we also have people come on as guests that are able to cook, sew, sing, dance, you name it, make movies. We've even had in fact, one guy that came on, his name was Kareem. And he came on our show when we first got started, and he won two of his movies, and now hit what you call that thing? That show movies, YouTube.
Okay.
Well, not YouTube, because it was already on YouTube, but one of these channels, two of his movies is hit. Maybe it's Netflix or somebody. I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. But my daughter just told me that the other day. But he actually, when he first started out, he came on the show.
Oh, wow.
We talk about veterans and different things. So I want Donald, you know him, Attorney Bell, but so he can introduce himself.
Well, good evening, and thank you for having me back on the show. Mm-hmm. Again, my name is Donald Bell. I'm an attorney here in Maryland. I am based here in Prince George's County. I've been serving the people of Prince George's County and the surrounding counties for the last 20 years. And I am so happy to be back here this evening, and so happy to be here with Lady Nighthawk.
And also tell them, Donald, before we forget, that even though it's in the credits, tell them how they can get in contact, the type of law that you do.
Well, I practice consumer bankruptcy, and I do some foreclosure defense litigation. We talk about preserving generational wealth by saving your home and help you get out of debt. So that's sort of what I believe my calling is. But again, I am right here in Prince George's County, and you can call me. Phone number at the office is 301-614-0535. Call me anytime. Right now, I think it may be about 8 or 8:30 in the evening. So even if you call right now, a live person will pick up the phone. Mm-hmm.
And we work as a team, here. At one time we had 7 people, and they were, Donald and Attorney Bell and Ross, who was here last week, which helps you with loan modifications and things like that. And then we had the veterans that were coming on and that would, tell you about what was going on in Commander Eagleston, and it was 2 other gentlemen that used to be with us a long time ago. They would come in and let us know what's going on so far as the veterans are concerned, because they're dear to my heart as well. And COVID kind of came and changed the whole world for everybody, for businesses and everything. It just changed the way we do things, And
COVID is still alive. I mean,
yes.
From what I was reading,
yep.
when they're checking the wastewater in order to determine how prevalent it is
mm-hmm.
very prevalent.
Mm-hmm. It never went away.
And new strains COVID has evolved, mm-hmm. and new strains are out there. And, the medical field is constantly coming up with vaccines, mm-hmm. but it just keeps mutating and keeps changing.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about COVID fatigue. Mm-hmm. People are tired of sitting at home, mm-hmm. and, they're just willing to risk it. So, and people are still dying. I mean, you would talk about people still dying from COVID. Well, people still getting very sick from COVID.
Good.
So
and they were calling it something else. Excuse me for saying it. They were calling it never stop. And, I know personally that people would be like in maybe a nursing home or rehab place or something. And in fact, I know one person that was supposed to be released from one of the rehabilitation places after he had had surgery, and mm-hmm. they told me he couldn't go home on that day because somebody on the floor had COVID, mm-hmm. and
So they wanted to isolate everybody there.
Yeah, so
because they don't want to spread it.
Right.
But chances that you are on that floor and you're compromised because you're you've
and
been
the
ill.
nurse and the nurses or the people
So-
that are attending you, they
Yes.
are still dealing
So
with these
it's a higher
different
chance
people
that
too.
you're going to catch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And from what I was told when I was working at a certain place, I talk to people all the time.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times that they know that the place had COVID, whether it was in the hospital or wherever,
Mm-hmm.
but when the person passed away, they said it was from pneumonia, okay, because it's a respiratory disease,
Yeah.
okay. But they really died from COVID, and they didn't put COVID on the death certificate. And a lot of, a lot of people that died after, we were supposed to have this under control.
Well, I think that's a huge problem in many of our southern states,
Mm-hmm.
where places like Florida,
Mm-hmm.
Alabama, and places in Mississippi and places like that, where there were huge numbers of people who may have died from COVID,
Mm-hmm.
but their deaths were attributed to other things because, politically speaking, those states opened back up fairly quickly, and in order to maintain the correct public facade, the powers that be were basically trying to manipulate those numbers and whatnot.
Right, but this wasn't hearsay. These were people that actually work in these
Yeah.
places, like nurses and cooks, technicians, whoever.
Yeah.
That I was talking to was the public, and even at the school teachers at the time would come in and say, "Oh, we just got back," in a casual conversation,
Yeah.
like wasn't nobody digging for the conversation, just a conversation, and they
Yeah.
come up and say, "Hey, they got COVID." Who was it just last week, a week or two? Some public official just had. Was it Biden just had?
Yeah, it was President Biden.
Yeah.
If you remember, we were in Las Vegas
Mm-hmm.
at the National Bar Association's annual conference, and NAACP had their conference there as well.
Mm-hmm.
So President Biden, before he decided to, step down and not run for re-election, was there on a campaign tour, and he did a speech, and some of the executive committee for the National Bar Association met with him, and the next day it turned out that he had COVID, and a lot of those people had to isolate.
Right.
So
And
yeah, but he had COVID. I mean, yeah. So
he wasn't the only one. It was some other public officials that's out here campaigning and stuff. I mean, I'm not even sure. I think that Trump even got COVID at one point. I
Well-
don't know whether it was the last time or this time, but
well, President Trump had COVID when he was in office,
yeah.
and
And he was denying it the whole time.
and apparently he was very ill. So ill that I think they had to actually create some sort of concoction. This was before, the
It was
medications
today.
were available to the public.
Right.
And they gave him the medications, and apparently he was able to recover as a result.
Yes.
Yeah, but he had COVID when he was president. So
Yeah. They did, and they
that
told
was in
us.
2020, I believe.
Yeah. And, I think since then, his family's had it, when he was running before. But not just him, but
I just
like
think COVID is
other
just going to be
people.
part of our culture, is part of, people are going to have COVID and they're going to get over it. Some people are not going to get over it, and that's just going to be part of what we're going to have to deal with.
Well, what they need to do is that I think that they, the relief funds for the states, that they trying to, put a, like a hold and grasp, so that some of the things that President Biden was trying to do, that they over in Congress said no,
Well, all that money has been taken back. So any money that wasn't spent as of last August or September, all that money was taken back. The relief aid that was sent out to the states, things of that nature, whatever had not been spent as of September of 2023, that money was taken. So the states don't even, so it's business as usual now.
But
There is no more relief money.
But even with the relief money, when they had it out, to put a damper on it, the rules changed right in the middle of the
Yeah.
track. Okay, they had one set of rules, and I guess those people that jumped on it were able to get it. But then and I guess they saw that people were trying to apply for it, and the businesses were applying for it. Then they changed the rules.
There was rampant fraud
Yeah.
going on, and there are people or companies were taking advantage of how easy it was, and there was a lot of fraud, a lot of misrepresentations, which I guess is a step lower than fraud being made. And so as a result, I think there were some, some more requirements, or better requirements that were put in place to I guess get a hold on that, because now, the Justice Department and state governments, well, primarily the Justice Department is going after like some of the people who were committing this fraud and taking advantage of this relief money when they weren't entitled to it.
Yeah, but then those that did qualify at that point got caught up in what the new changes were, and they weren't able to get it.
Yeah, particularly for small businesses, people of color. There was a lot of information about how they were being denied loans and things of that nature, and whatnot. But there were a lot of people out there who were not entitled to those loans or getting those loans.
Yeah, well, the thing is that yes, the people that were doing that, they should be punished, but they should not have, in that swoop, negated other folks that truly needed to keep their business alive and running.
A lot of businesses closed. I would tell you that.
Yeah.
Just even in my industry, a lot of lawyers decided to retire. A lot of them passed away. A lot of them just closed up shop because they could not survive, the COVID pandemic and whatnot. So,
and so, folks, like, it's never really gone anywhere. It's just been here. So, I mean, if I got my boosters and stuff, and then this is the time of the year that you need to get your flu shot, okay, and your pneumonia shot. Okay, because there's a lot of things that are going on, and especially people that are in the senior citizen age group, or if it's anybody, it doesn't even have to be senior citizens, anybody that has difficulties, with their immune system, that they need to make sure that they get those flu shots and they get those pneumonia shots. You just got to be careful. I guess because this is an election year, that is stopping people that are in government from telling people to wear masks. Because that's the easiest thing that you can do, is to wear a mask, okay? And I think that because, they made it such a taboo, and trying to deny that this thing was even going on during one president's reign, and not this one, but prior to that, he was telling people to use bleach. Not this president, the previous president, tell them that you can use bleach. I mean, it was just kind of nonsense stuff that was going on at the time. And so, but I think that the cheapest thing that you can do, and so that they won't lock down, nobody should have to tell you. If they start telling you that they got COVID out here again, and you see all these people that are getting it, because it's not a little bit of people that are being told that we hear in the news about this leader, or this person in the administration, or that one, you understand? And then your own family members, okay? Yeah. One of my relatives couldn't go on a family. I thought that she would have gone with the family down to a resort, and she couldn't go, because she has one of those public jobs in the District of Columbia, and she got COVID. Okay, so she couldn't go. So I'm saying to you that you guys at home know what's going on, because you got family members that are getting COVID now, and they're not giving away free samples anymore, okay? But when you start noticing that your drugstore, your where you go get your medicines and things, start having that shelf start being restocked with, COVID tests, that's a telltale sign that we're on the rise, okay? Because one minute you don't have that many tests that you can give to the public, and then all of a sudden you see a great amount of stores stocking up on it so that you can have accessibility to it. It's not being publicized like it's supposed to be, so that people could know. And then the children just started going back to school, and we have to make sure that our teachers are protected. okay, and the other children that go into those spaces. And that's one thing that I really fault so much that happened last time, is because those are some of the conversations that I would hear would be from the school teachers, you know, and before they start letting them work from home. You know, I'm talking about the students going online, but you know, what does that do so far as social habits for a young child that's in pre-kindergarten and kindergarten, when it's the most important time in their lives to get them acclimated to being able to have social media, social skills. You know?
Even with high school and middle school students, when COVID happened, my son was in 10th grade, and he missed the second half of his 10th grade year, all of his 11th grade year in school, and he went back his 12th grade year. So when he left, he was like 15, and when he came back, he was almost 18, and so he didn't get to go to like any school dances. You know, he didn't.
And graduations.
But you know, he missed so much in terms of that socialization and interaction, because basically, you know, in this state we were really on lockdown for almost 2 years. You know. Well,
we didn't die.
Yeah.
Okay. The thing is, because it made it mandatory that you wear a mask. Okay. Yeah. And they made it so that you could work from home. Now, those people that have abused that, even that privilege, we got people that abuse that. Big companies got fired a whole lot of folks because they said they were working from home, and there's some little gadget they had that could make the mouse move, and they found out that people weren't really at home. They said they was at home working, but they somewhere else in the Caribbean somewhere, you know. And so it makes it bad for other people, and that's what I'm saying, folks. You know, come on. When you do crazy stuff like that, you're not just hurting yourself, but you help hurting, you know, thousands of people, because there was a lot of people that got fired from one company that was abusing working from home.
Really?
Okay.
I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, that was publicized on television some time ago. And so it's not just that company, it's a lot of companies there. Those that sit and do what they're supposed to do, I take my hand, I give you a clap. I salute you that you working from home and you working from home, okay? But those of you that are abusing the system and make it bad for you to be able to work from home. And the same thing with your children. If the parents are not going to help the children, you know, at home, you know, when I came up, it wasn't computers, okay, with my kids initially. But I sat down every day. I don't care if it took us 3 hours. I had 2 kids and I had 3 kids, you understand? So I had to devote time to all of them if they had to do their homework when they were younger. And you devote that time to help your children. Not only that, it helps you keep your faculties going as well, because you know you're learning new things. You know, math was changing. You know, and that was because that's not my strongest suit. But math, the way we learned how to do math at the time when it was changing. But I was up on it because I was helping my children doing their homework. So it's a benefit to you to sit down and spend. That's quality time that you can spend with your children. Now, and I'm not just talking about the little ones. I'm talking about the big ones as well. Okay, that's quality time that you can just set aside and ask your son or your daughter that's in high school or junior high school, do you need some help with your homework? I mean, I don't think that's silly.
Or not even do you need some help, why don't you show me what you're doing?
Right, so I can learn something new.
Yeah, so show me what you're doing. Show me what kind of problems you guys are working on.
Right.
And how you solved it. What's the steps?
Right.
And you sit down and you go through them steps with them.
Right.
Because like you said, it's quality time, but you learning something.
Yes.
And then the child is teaching you.
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
But the child is teaching you, and while they're teaching you, they're learning.
Yes.
As well.
And they also might be, by their teaching, they might be future teachers because now you're giving them a skill set.
But they're becoming experts in that area.
Yes.
Because they're teaching you.
Yes.
When you may not have access to it.
Right.
So it's not only let me help you, but why don't you show me what you're doing?
Right.
So why don't you teach me how to do what you're doing? Let's just sit down and go through it so I can understand what you're going through.
Right. And I didn't think about it, but that's actually the mentality that I guess I had. And I guess that's why, because I'm still going to school. And my mother said to me, because I'm always getting certificates or going through something. And so she said, you know what, at some point, you know, you can just stop going to school, you know, but you got to keep your brain active, you know.
You got to keep on learning.
It has to be a sponge,
You
okay?
have to be a lifelong student.
Yes, it's lifelong. It doesn't stop because you're...
I don't care if you're a plumber,
Yeah.
if you're a carpenter, if you're a
Yes.
lawyer, if you're a
Yes.
doctor,
Yeah, a preacher.
or you're a computer person, or you're always learning. So you're always trying to go, you should always be going back to school, whether it's actual school, virtual school, or you're just sitting around talking to people. You got to constantly, you know, challenge yourself.
Yes.
And challenge your
Yes.
beliefs and read different things and learn
Yes.
different things and talk to different people, and so you can see things from different perspectives.
Yes, and I think that is so important for us, and that's why other countries are so far ahead of us, because we missed the mark when it comes to making sure that our children and their families and their parents are not doing what they need to do. Because if you allow a child like the murder that just happened in Georgia, if you allow your child to spend all this time gaming on the internet, okay, well, did he do his homework? Did you check and make sure you did his homework? What was his question? Hey, I see you on the computer. That's easy. I see you on the computer. You know, those are good skills. You can get money off of doing that. Yeah, but did you do what you were supposed to do for school? You know, they should not be allowed to use these gaming things unless I'm talking about if they're school age, until they have done their homework.
I just think it's also important that you engage the children. So something that my wife did during COVID was, you know, because she was home, she was working from home, and my son was home because he was being, you know, he couldn't go to school. So he was home, and, you know, he was, you know, doing school from home and whatnot. I got up and went to work, you know, because I couldn't stand being at home.
Right.
But she taught him how to bake, you know, and during that process, she engaged him, and they talked about, and they created such a tight bond, you know, like, and he was learning, you know, math and baking and whatnot, and he became like a really good baker because they were sitting there. It's like, let's go make some cookies.
Right.
Let's go look up a recipe and we're gonna make cookies, or we go, let's make such and such for dinner or something like that. But I think, you know, when kids are doing things like that, sometimes, you know, it's something missing at home, you know, because the simple things, you know, maybe, you know, the parents aren't doing. Are you engaging your child? Because when you engage your child, then you can find out what's going on. You can find out if they're being bullied. You can find out if they're struggling physically or mentally. So, you know, you can try to sort of see if you can get them some type of help. Because we live in a great state here in Maryland where whether you have insurance or if you don't have insurance, you can get insurance and you can get help if you need help. You know, there are resources out there for people who are wealthy, and there are resources out there for people who are not wealthy. But if you are struggling mentally and you need help, you can get some help. But sometimes I believe that, you know, people in situations like that, they just become isolated. And the more isolated you come, the more insulated you come with your thoughts and your thought process. And
if you got somebody
your thought process just goes, it just starts to warp. When you're not talking to people, because you talked about that one time, about how you got to engage and talk to people and whatnot.
You have to.
You know, that's what keeps you sane.
Mentally alert as well.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, it's good for the brain is a muscle.
Yeah.
It has to be worked, okay?
But you can work it negatively too.
Well,
if you're not engaging people, you just...
Absolutely. I'm with you. I'm right there with you. But when you see a child that you know that is used to be, before they hit maybe the junior high school, very outgoing, smiled all the time, didn't mind engaging and everything. Then all of a sudden, you got her a phone, you know, because everybody else had one. And then all of a sudden, you slowly see this child, if you're paying attention, persona changes. Okay. Well, that's the time before it gets really bad. You say, well, what's going on? I'm glad that they're making phones that are that
I was
for
just
children.
thinking about that.
That they can't have that stuff.
Have the phones in school.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's a great idea. Yeah.
And I'm glad that they're making phones that will not allow you without parental approval, and they don't even have it on these certain cell phones, on some of these apps and things. And I thought that whoever decided to do that really must have worked hand in hand with the mental health people, okay?
But, you know, when we were in school, you know, it wasn't so long ago in the 80s, you know, in the early 90s when I was in school, I'm talking about like junior high school,
Well,
even elementary school, we didn't have no phone.
Even in college.
And, you know, and if some emergency happened or something like that, we were able to get it taken care of. So not having a phone for, I mean, I don't know that
it's a dire need.
I don't know that it's necessarily such a need. You know? It's not as big a need as we make it out to be.
No, it's not. And the thing is that it's really kind of bad, because one time you would know people's phone numbers. You know, you say, hey, you know, Attorney Bell's phone number, and you could say, oh yeah, his phone number is blah 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 blah. Now, they might say, do you know that attorney that you talk to all the time?
Yeah.
Can you give me his phone number? Now I have to go look at my phone, because all I have to do on my phone is just push the thing, you there. But to give your number out, I have to. The only person that number that I don't even know my kid's phone number. I'm gonna tell you the God's truth. The only person's number that I know that has never changed their phone number is my mother's.
I knew it was your mother.
That's the only phone number that I know. You ask me what her phone number is, I can tell you. Okay.
I'll tell you this. You know, my wife and I, we dated in high school, so I still remember her number from high school, and I know her phone number, her cell phone number. You know, because when we first got married, we both got cell phones. Now my son's number, because that number came like 13 years later. I got to look at that.
I have to look at mine too.
I know her number by heart. So it's like I know my cell phone number and her cell phone number, and I know my parents' phone number and her parents' phone number, because it's never changed.
I take my hat off to you. Now, see, because those kids, young people, change their phone number in a hot minute, you know? And so I just don't even try, you know, to remember my kids' phone numbers. So, and other people.
But we never changed our cell phone numbers. We've had the same one for over 20 some odd years.
Yeah, and it makes it so bad. You know, then you one time you made a grocery list, right? You didn't just walk and ponder around the store and, you know, pick up everything. You know,
still make a grocery list.
That's
we don't stick to it all the time.
That's right. Well, we didn't stick to it then either. But at least we made a grocery list. You know, it helps you with your budget. You know, too. You talk about that all the time about making a budget. You know, and then that's part of it, you know, making a grocery list. So when you go in the grocery store, you know what you got to spend. And to stop buying all that other stuff that you didn't need, you know, instead of buying what you did say was on that list. It makes a big difference. So we really do. Mental health is a problem here in this country and across the world. And so is alcoholism and drug abuse. And so is violence, okay? Women are still being abused. Men get abused as well. You know, they think that was, you know, being abused was just a woman's thing. Nope, men get abused as many as women. So there's so many things that we know that have been going on in this country for so long that we now have numbers and things. We have some of the numbers that are on the end of the credits on here for the, you know, the alcohol and drug abuse line, suicide hotline, you know, those are on there. So if you know somebody that needs some help, you know, you take a course yourself. Okay, because you could get a certificate. Seriously, ask the certificate lady. Okay, you could get a certificate in drug abuse. You know, you teach out the people. Churches should be teaching that stuff. Okay, as well to their flock, and everybody should know how to do CPR. Okay, in my church, everybody knew how to do CPR. We went as a group. We learned as a group. Somebody needs to know how to use an AED machine. Okay, so there are important things that you just need to know. Okay. When you're around people, if you could give aid. But then also what the laws say when you touch a person, what happens with that, because you have laws out here too, you know, that if you touch a person, I'm telling you, you want to help somebody on the side of the road. God, I say this real quick.
They're called Good Samaritan laws.
And that's right. And so that means you got to stay there until, and then somebody could sue you, you know, and you were trying to help. And look, we want to say, Donald and I want to say good night to everybody and to our, you know, people that watch us every week. We love you.
Thank you for tuning in.
Good night.
God bless you.
God bless you.